Good luck, good luck.
Hello, everybody. It's 8:30. You know what time it is. It's time for the Man United agenda. Yes, welcome to Rebels Fantasy Focus. I am Colm. I am stepping in as he is not here today. He's in the chat though, so hello, Rebel. I'm joined today by Ross. How are you, Ross?
All good. Good evening to the viewers. How are you doing, Colin?
I'm not bad. And back from his learning session last week and home to learn some more. Pat, how you doing, mate?
Evening, gentlemen. Can't wait. I'm here to fly the flag for all the newbies and all the amateurs in the comments. So don't worry, lads. I'll be asking all the questions.
Good.
Yes, yep. And we've got Ross, who is a keen fantasy football player. So we have a Q&A at the end. So if you want to get your questions into myself, Ross, or Pat at the end, make sure you do get them in. I just want to say hello to a few people before we get in. So TALKMU, how are you doing, mate? The host of the show, who I'm stepping in for, Rebel, say looking forward to tonight's discussions on fantasy football, and he's welcoming Ross.
Cheers.
Kalo, when the league starts on Friday, don't check the scores because I'll come out on top. Well, he's already there. We've got OMONDI saying let's go Colm, Ross and Pat. Bart is in here as well. We've got a lot of people in today. A lot of people. GP87TM, hello, how you doing? Matthew Bassett as well. The boss man, Solo. How you doing, Solo? Hope you're doing well. And Gaming Guy as well. Ross has been not very good in the last few seasons.
Somebody's jumping the gun, I see.
Somebody is jumping the gun.
I'll have the last laugh.
No, yeah. We will see. We will see who has the last laugh. For anybody who isn't in the fantasy league already, there is your code to join it. We wanted to get up to 100 people. I'm not quite sure how many we all think last time I heard it was somewhere around 96. Let's see if we can get up to 100 by the end of the show today. Your code is 1CZLY1. So I think that's enough chit-chat, isn't it, boys? Let's get into the actual nitty-gritty. So what we're going to start with the show with today is an AI has predicted the best lineup for game week 1. So I've got the picture of this AI team, and I want you guys to have a look at it and discuss. Do you agree that it's the best team? As we can see, it's here. So Ross, I'm going to come to you first, mate. What do you see with this team? Yes, I'm going to throw you straight at deep end. You can see this team here. Do you agree? Is it the best team? Do you agree with the AI, or do you have your own opinions?
Yeah, well, looks like myself and the AI are going to have a little chat after this. We've definitely got some conflicting opinions here. Look, I agree to an extent. I think Nick Pope, we'll start with the goalkeepers, but I think Nick Pope is a decent shout. I only worry about his third game against Manchester City. So that's going to be a tough one. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth it to keep him for that long. Because you must remember, if you're going to be having your players in your side, you don't want to have to keep swapping and changing them every 2-3 game weeks. So that's my only issue for the longevity. The defense looks quite solid. I'm happy with that. Especially Perisic. I mean, he's a bargain buy. He's going for 5.5 million. So he's definitely going to be a key asset for a lot of our players. And we look at that midfield. You and I were having a chat before we started. We were speaking about St. Maximum. And I think you would agree that he might not be the best Newcastle asset to have in our team. Not too sure whether he'll pop up with enough points. But I'm sure you can elaborate more further on that. Same with Wilson, actually. Pat was saying he could be injury prone. those two may be the biggest weakness in the side. Harry Kane could be inconsistent. His form tends to he tends to pick up form quite slowly throughout the season. He starts the season off slowly and then progressively towards the Christmas period, he seems to be hitting his top gear. But other than that, it'll be a solid 7, 8 out of 10 for me. Just those Newcastle assets are my weakness there.
Well, Pat, obviously you can see your team. Like I said, AI has made this team. This is going to be the best team. Game week 1. Can you pick out some of these players that you think, yes, okay, 100%, and which ones in there would you change?
Okay, so we start with the two Chelsea lads. I'm sure everybody else would agree. James and Chilwell are two fantastic defenders, and they pick up some lovely assists and some nice goals. James, I'd keep in the team. Chilwell, probably not so much because he's a little bit more injury prone than James would be. If he'd have to really keep an eye on his form and what kind of games are coming up, because Chelsea do rotate their team as well, as in defenders and formation at the back. That's what your man Tuchel likes to do. So it's a little bit of a gamble. But then if you go for the two Liverpool lads in Robertson and Trent, they're nearly a given. They've got a good start to the season as well. Don't mind that fixture. I'm on about the first two. And then, as we spoke about, Perisic is a great one. 5.5, playing in defence. We all know how many goals and assists this fella's he's gonna help out with at Tottenham. So that's a very good one. When it comes to Diaz, myself, Ross, and Colin were talking about this beforehand. I think this is going to be Diaz's year. I think he's going to be very well. But at the same time, Jota had a good year last year, so maybe he's paid his dues and he's going to get in the team over Diaz. So where you might have Diaz in your team, you might have to take a second look at it, because regardless of how good he is, it all depends on how much game time he's going to get. So you might lose points by having him every week. And then you have Saint Maximum. Like, I like Saint Maximum. He's a big, tough, fast dribbler. But that's probably he's a big fish in a small pond. But now that Newcastle are getting bigger, he might disappear into that team, and you mightn't see as much as him. So that's just my opinion. But I'd like you guys have your own in the comments. Son is a given. Son's gonna have a fantastic year. We all know about that. But with Son, it comes with a price, just like Salah, just like Kane. So I'd love to have Son in my team, but it's all about where you've spent your money and how you've spent your money.
Yep. I agree. It is. It's 100% how you spent your money. I mean, if I'm gonna pick at some stuff here, you know, the two obvious ones is obviously Wilson. He's an obvious one. I don't think he's going to be getting many points this season at all, especially with the money that Newcastle are going to be spending this season. I mean, they're going to get another striker, and Wilson's just not going to cut it, is he? For him, let's face it. There, and it might surprise people, it might not. But Harry Kane always has a slow start to the season. He always does, every single year. And to predict, you know, he might prove us wrong. He might start off scoring 6 goals in his first game. Who knows? You know, it's fantasy football and it's the Premier League. It's so unpredictable. But the two strikers for me seems to be a big issue. I've seen a couple of comments in, and one of them caught my eye. If I can find where it is. Here it is. So I'm going to ask both of you. So Gavin Ward, he's saying, surely you go for more midfielders and attackers rather than defenders, higher chances of goals and assists, or am I missing something? So Ross, in reply to that comment, is he spot on with that, or do you disagree?
50-50, not necessarily. There's a point to having more defenders, especially recently in the Premier League seasons. I mean, we could see that last season it was common that a lot of the defenders were ending up on the high scoring lists. Trent and Robertson, perfect examples, because they're defenders and they're consistently grabbing assists and popping up with goals. Their bonus points were going off the charts. Van Dijk as well. He was popping up with some really good headers and finishes. So you do end up getting more points for your defenders that are attacking minded. Perisic is another one for the season. He's, I don't know why, but they placed him in defense. Maybe because he will be an attacking wing back. But for that, that's a coup. If we're able to get him in our team as a defender, which he is, then it's a brilliant piece and a good player to have there. I'll definitely take him over St. Maximum, just on a pure basis that the attacking returns will be more likely than having St. Maximum. So having good attackers and enough midfielders are important, but defenders, especially for this season, even more so.
Pat?
Good point. So what I was thinking when I read Gavin's comment straight away was, you look at the midfielders, the good ones, the Sons, the De Bruynes, the Salahs. They know they're going to get you goals and assists every week. But I always feel, especially last year, for example, you get a bit more bang for your buck when you're buying the likes of James and Robertson and Alexandra. If you buy a midfielder for 7 million, you might not get the same amount of goals and assists as you would if you have a Trent and a Robertson, and you can pick up that clean sheet for you as well. So that's why I try to stick. So it's kind of like you have the reassurance of your clean sheet coming in with your defender, even if he doesn't score. So it's like your midfielder just getting an assist, for example. But if your defender gets you a clean sheet and he gets you a goal, all of a sudden, wow, you're up with 12 points, and it's more cost effective. So me personally, it's why I tend to go with the defenders at the moment more than the midfielders, because of the versatility of themselves, running up and down that wing, getting goals, getting assists, and taking free kicks with the likes of Trent Alexander. And I'm sure Robertson does chip out with the free kicks as well, like Chilwell, don't he?
Yeah.
He does, yes. Like it's a great comment, you know. I mean, there's loads of people in the comments chatting. So what we'll do is we'll go through a few. Gaming guy, no Salah in the squad. I mean, it is quite surprising that Salah's not there. He's in everyone's team, isn't he, Salah? You know, everyone's saying he's the banker. We've got Go Paul, no Salah, no Haaland. Two big players. But do you need them in your team?
Would the AI not pick Haaland because of statistics? He hasn't played in the Premiership before?
Possibly, but doesn't explain why Salah's not there.
Yeah, okay. Is that percentage-wise with Son then, is it? Because Salah went away for the African Cup of Nations and missed the percentage of games.
Yeah.
I think it will have been. It will have been.
Yeah.
Solo saying 103 are now in. It's great to see. Let's see if we can get it up to 110.
I thought that was Solo talking about how many points he's going to get in his first game week.
Nah, Solo's only getting about 50 points. Mr. B is in the house. Hello, Mr. B. We've got Rebel saying Maddison possibly Newcastle bound, which also means St. Max could be sharing the pitch with him and Bruno Guimaraes. See, that's another good point. That could affect, obviously, St. Maximum's points tally this season. Go Paul again. If Chelsea sign Cucurella, Chil will be rotated. I think people are going to be rotated anyway. I don't know what your opinions are on that, but I think players are going to get rotated every single week.
Yeah. Nearly impossible to pick a Manchester City player last year.
No.
So frustrating.
Rebel is saying it's an AI team from one of the fantasy football sites. So he's talking to Kalo there. By Matt, majority of FPL players are either going 5-3-2 or 4-4-2, bulking up with defenders. Majority of BPL teams have wide attacking fullbacks, and so many of them are cheap this season. That is a very good point. There's a lot of cheap fullbacks this season, and obviously they are very, very attacking this season. And we've got Bart here who says St. Maximin leads the league in dribbles. With a good number 9, he would get the assists, which is a very good point. He would get the assists. He is right there. He is right. But what we're going to do is, before we go on to the next one, I'm just going to put this back up there. Obviously, we want to get up to 110. Now we've hit over 100. Let's get up to 110. If you want to join, it is on the Fantasy Premier League, and your code is 1CZLY1. I'll just leave that up for a second. And what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be talking about game week 1. It is literally days away. The Premier League is back, and I cannot wait. So what we've got here is game week 1. So what I'm wanting you guys to do, and I'm going to come to you first, Pat. You've got all the games there of the first week. Where are all the points coming from? You know, I mean, you've got some mismatches there, as we can see, but where do you see the most points coming from?
Straight away, you have to think of the likes of Liverpool playing Fulham, Aston Villa playing Bournemouth. Okay, I might even go as far as, I wouldn't say Wolves playing Leeds, because Leeds shipped out 2 of their players and they haven't really brought anybody in that I know of. Yeah, they would definitely be the first 2 games, because Southampton and Tottenham, like Southampton is such a well-run club. One week they can get absolutely spanked by Spurs, and then the following week they'd either draw with them or beat with them, draw with them or beat them. So I'd find that a tough one to pick as well. And it's always first game of the season. Teams raise levels that you don't expect, but they find it hard to keep it going throughout the year. So the likes of your Fulhams, the likes of your Bournemouth, even the Everton playing Chelsea, they might raise their game for the first match, but then teams start finding their weaknesses and start picking holes in them, and that's where they start going downhill over the period of games.
Yep, very true. Ross?
Yeah, I agree with you, Pat. I was just about to chip in with my own 5 cents. The Liverpool Fulham game just screams out at everybody. And I'll give some of my secrets away. For that game, I've tripled up on Liverpool players. I've got 3 of them. Mo Salah being one of them, and you better believe he's going to be the captain for that game. And the reason why I'm specifically pointing out Mo Salah is for his past 5 Premier League seasons that he's been here. He's got double digits for every one of those opening fixtures for the past 5 seasons. That's a little caveat for everybody that's watching. So if the stats prevail once again, he could be in for a massive game week. So I do suggest going in on Mo Salah and tripling up on your Liverpool assets. Villa versus Bournemouth, as Pat was emphasizing, also going to be a great game. The Villa squad has got huge depth there. And now that there's 5 substitutes in the Premier League, they'll only speed up the tempo, keep it consistent, and with all that depth that Villa have got, I'm sure they can put Bournemouth to the sword. The one game that I am interested to see for the neutrals will be Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot of in-depth research between those 2 teams, but both of the teams have really good players. Lingard stands out for me at Nottingham Forest, and there's a couple other players that are there. With Newcastle, we're going to see if Bruno can continue his form that he finished last season under, and a couple of other players that might end up shining. So that game week, Nottingham Forest versus Newcastle, will be very good to keep an eye on for the future.
Yep, I do agree. I mean, we're on the Man United agenda. You know, there's that game there, the big one for Manchester United at the start of the season. Manchester United, Brighton. Can we see anybody from either Man United or Brighton getting loads of points? Or do you think, you could have one in your team and that'll be enough?
Is Ronaldo starting? Tell me about Ronaldo. He's costing a hell of a lot for all of the FPL players. Please tell us if he's worth it.
Well, I don't know whether Ronaldo's starting.
It's a bit of a gamble to take, isn't it? Because look, he didn't play the preseason. He didn't play the full preseason. I think with the way things are going, it feels like Martial might get the start. He mightn't stay there for the whole season, but he might just get the start out of respect from Erik ten Hag for how hard he worked. Might not. He might get thrown straight in. So I just feel if it had been last year, yeah, Ronaldo would be straight into the team. But this year, it's a little bit of uncertainty.
So let me pose a question to both of you guys. I'm sure the viewers would love to know. 3 players. Please, can you pick 3 players from the United team that you would have starting? So any 3 suggestions of players that you would have in your team. They might not actually be in your team now, but I'm sure the viewers that are passionate and diehard Man United fans and got their eyes on them might want to pick some for differentials. So which 3 players? I'll start with you, Patsy.
Well, I'd go with Sancho straight away because he's been our player of the preseason. Well, amongst others, but he was probably one that stuck out for me. Players to have Manchester United in your squad. Martinez and Malacia, both at 4.5 million. I think that's a good buy if you're trying to have strength and depth in your defence, and they don't necessarily have to start every week. So if you're a bit concerned about Manchester United and who they're playing, they might have an easier game week. Next week, you'll put Martinez. Martinez is good at spraying the ball forward. He's good at well. Let's see what he's like. But Malacia definitely will be crossing the ball and will get an assist in him. So they're definitely 2 I'd watch out for. But the one that I've stuck in myself and I hold my hand up, I've stuck Marty Allen, and only because of his preseason form and his price. I've tried to give me strikers a bit of depth instead of going all or nothing. So I'll hold my hand up. I'll put
He can
Marty
chip in
Allen.
with assists as well. He
Yeah.
likes to drop deep and get assists, so that is a good
Yeah.
pick. What about you,
Yeah.
Colin? What are your choices?
So, Malacia, I'd put Malacia in the team, in my team. I would go with Sancho as well. I think Sancho's going to have a really good season. I think he's got to hit the ground running, especially with the way he's been playing pre-season. The third player. See, the third one's quite a hard choice. Harry Maguire. No, I wouldn't have Harry Maguire.
On Mondays like this. Yeah.
No, Harry Maguire is not good in my team. I would probably go with Martial as well. You know, he started off pre-season quite well. Is he going to get all the game time? I don't know. Is he going to play on Sunday again? We don't know. But he's probably one of the better ones to take a punt on, I reckon, this season.
Yeah.
And no De Gea? He's been your guys' player of the season for how many years? You don't want him?
He is, but us as Man United fans, we have to see a bit of consistency in the whole defence as a unit before you can start putting David De Gea back in that team.
So I like David De Gea, but in my fantasy team, I want points. So no, I'm afraid not. I mean, as people know me on the agenda, I'm the stat man. That's what people know me as, and
we only gave you a shout out last night.
yeah, I gave you a shout out last night. And I've just had a little look into something because obviously a lot of people are saying, I've sent a few people in the chat about the Newcastle Forest game, and a little heads up to people. They've only played each other 7 times in the Premier League. Newcastle winning 3 of them and Forest winning 4, and there's been an average of 2.1 goals per game. So that might be something. It might not be, but it might be. Who knows? So there's a lot of people in the chat. Matt has just joined the league. Thank you so much for joining. Football United TV.
I tell you, mate.
Big up, mate. How you doing? Rebel is in the chat, but it's not Rebel. It's Mr. B. I'm getting a little bit of turn off because I forgot to say it. There is a trophy for the winner. Of the Fantasy League, which Mr. B has sourced, and you'll get your name engraved on it, and it will be shipped out to you. And also, the panelist or presenter of the Man United agenda that finishes with the lowest amount of points will be doing a forfeit. So, Ross, you're in that now as well, by the looks of it. It has to be, obviously, there is limits. It has to be legal. So, we're not going to be doing anything silly. That's going to be decided by the chat. Rebels saying Everton versus Chelsea sticks out a bit for me. Everton have a lot of work to do on their squad. I think Chelsea overpower them. I think Chelsea are going to struggle, personally. But
do you think Chelsea are in as much as a mess as we are with the likes of Ronaldo going on and all the hassle they have with Azpilicueta and Alonso still not having uncertainty on whether they're staying or not?
I think so. And I think there'll be even more trouble if Timo Werner decides to leave.
I really feel for your man Tuchel because he's after really inheriting a big baller. Let's call it.
Yeah, he has.
He really has.
What's your thoughts, Ross?
I never really thought about that deeply until now. And now that you mention it, you've got a point. But I think why it's probably not mentioned as often as what United's problems has been is because of their recent success. They're able to get into the top four. They've been blowing a hell of a lot of money. The Lukaku signing was one of them because that's just been a waste. They've had to write that off.
We know about that.
Their recruitment also is quite poor. For a couple of people that on the chat might not know, Chelsea tonight signed a youth player from Aston Villa, Carney Chukwuemeka. And just a quick backstory about that. He's 18 years old, and yes, he was part of the England under-19 team that won the Euros. But he held out on his new contract at Villa because it was rumored that he wanted 100 grand a week at 18, and he wasn't starting most matches. I think he probably started like 3 matches for Aston Villa. So Chelsea now have just signed him. He was leaving on a free next year anyway. So they've wasted more money. And that just goes to show what their recruitment's like. I think if Tuchel loses more key members of the squad, like Azpilicueta, I think Werner goes as well. And even though his performances might not have been matching his price tag, he's still that influence in the changing room and been bringing the squad together as well. I think they could be found out. They could be found out this season, definitely.
Yeah, I feel about Tuchel just a little bit.
I want to say hello to Love Island with Vaughan. Oh no, it's fantasy football. Yes, yes, it is fantasy football. It is. We've got Ola Kunle. I wouldn't bother getting CR37. He's had no preseason, which you alluded to, Pat.
Yeah. He's not as much as he is a naturally fit man. We all know that, but it's not fair on everybody else. He has to be integrated back into the team.
Yeah, I do agree with that. We've got he's saying Martinez, Martial, and Rashford as his 3 United players. I disagree with Rashford, but that's just me. It's also saying Newcastle to finish above Man United.
So take everything with a pinch of salt there.
Mr. B's at bath time. No Love Island chat. Monday saying thanks guys. I'm taking notes. It's so deep. I want inside scoops off air. I'll send you over my PayPal details. Rebel Q&A. We'll save that for the Q&A section. Actually, Mr. B, we need a photo of this trophy. So I'll leave that for you to sort out for Gavin. Alconde again. Chelsea aren't in the same mess as Man United, so calm down.
Liverpool fans know best.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. And Monday is saying I am thinking we have to look for guaranteed starters and guys that play the full 90. So on this comment here from Monday, how important is it to look at the players that are going to be getting full 90s? Or does it matter at all, Pat?
Is there a certain time limit that the players have to be on the pitch? Defenders, for example, that they get that clean sheet. Is it 60-odd minutes, 70-odd minutes?
I think they have. I think last year, I think it was 60 minutes last year.
60 minutes last year. So that'd be something for everybody to look out for when they're picking their players based on what OMONDI's just said. You have to make sure if you're going to buy a defender, he's going to play the 90 minutes. So you'll have to kind of watch his minutes per game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Besides the full 90, we must also think about super subs. As we're speaking about depth in a lot of the team squads now, with the new rule of having 5 substitutes in the Premier League, there could be potential superstars. One of them at Aston Villa is Leon Bailey. A lot of the times he is that impact sub, and I'm sure there's many of them in all different types of teams. So that's one new tactic to look at if you want to score some hidden points that a lot of people don't know about. Impact subs might be very good just to have a little bit of a differential player in your team. So I'd say for defenders, definitely important to be playing full 90, but you might be able to take a gamble on midfielders.
Well, I mean, I always do look for players that are playing full 90. Obviously, you got more chances to actually get the points. And obviously, I go by points per game per million, and that it's a big factor. It is a very big factor that they've got to play those minutes. So, well, we've got a few more people. I want to say hello to Dave as well. Hello, Dave. A question for you both here, seeing as how we're going to come on to this shortly. There's a question for you both. Who's your suggested bargain buys for game week 1?
Jesse Lingard. Straight Jesse Lingard. 6 million for Lingard. Easy.
You actually took the words out of my mouth there a few minutes ago, because I think Leon Bailey's going to be fantastic this year. Only because he had a poor injury start to last year. He didn't get the form for what he deserves as a player. So I think this year we might see a lot more of him for what he's worth, and I think he's worth 5 million.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
My only problem is I don't feel he might be getting the full 90. He's definitely good for impact subs. So if you would like to bring in a player that can get you those points and those differentials, Leon Bailey is your man. If you want consistent points, I feel that Lingard will be more than likely than Leon Bailey to pay full 90.
Right, okay. Would you class a £7 million player as a bargain boy, would you?
I'm sure Jesse is 6.
Well, Scamacca, I believe, is 7 million that went to West Ham.
Yeah.
And this fella might shock us all this year now. Or he might do the complete opposite. But he looks like a hot prospect coming into an already kind of gelled West Ham team that are just missing that kind of missing piece of the jigsaw, because Anthony was carrying the can by himself last year. And as we all seen, it was the start of the season and a little bit in the middle of the season, he got a load of goals, but he just dropped right off towards the end of the year. And he didn't get as much goals as we would have liked. Can
you tell me more about Scamacca? I'm not too familiar with him, and I didn't watch him in the Serie A. What type of striker is he? Does he drop deep? Is he a target man?
I'll get Colin to answer that. Do you know Colin?
So I've seen him do a little bit of everything. I've seen him drop deep. I've seen him collect the ball from deep and go forward with it. I've seen him be the target man. I've seen him hold the ball up. So it's a bit of an all-rounder. I think he does his kind of best work when he does drop in and collect the ball, personally. But again, systems are going to change. He's at a different team. He's going to have to play how they want him to play. So it's a bit of a punt. But it could be a good punt. It could be a good punt. I just want to say hello to Brush. Rebel confirming there that it's 60 minutes as well. So, talking about Scamacca. Well, actually, hold on. Here we go. We'll go with this first. So, this is the Fantasy League, the Man United Agenda Fantasy League. Please do join. The code is there, 1CZLY1. It's on the Fantasy Premier League website, and we will be giving a trophy away as well. You'll have your name engraved, and we'll ship it out to you. And also the panelist of the Man United Agenda that finishes last or with the least amount of points will be doing a forfeit that is chosen by the chat. And I believe that's probably going to go to Solo. That's just my opinion. I'm never coming back on this channel, am I? So, speaking about Scamacca, we're going to go on to the newcomers. Guys, who is going to be the newcomer of the season? Or who's going to be the newcomers of the season, in your opinion? I'm going to come to you, Ross. Who do you think is going to do really well this season in their first season?
I'm going with the heavy hitter, Erling Haaland. Has to be Haaland. For me, I have him in my team already. He's up front. I've loved him ever since I saw him playing that Red Bull side. And honestly, he only developed into a more complete striker once he got to Borussia Dortmund. And I think it's the right time for him to head to the Premier League. I know at the Community Shield he didn't seem to perform as well as what everybody thought he would, but I'm taking a punt on him. He'll stay on my side, and I'm certain he'll get us some points.
So what do people think in the chat of Liverpool's equivalent of Haaland in Núñez. Is he going to get 90 minutes every week? Is he going to hit the ground running? He's got a bit of stick. He was a bit hot and cold in the preseason. He scored a few goals in one game, and then he was getting stick in the next game. Is he going to get into that squad? Is he going to get 90 minutes every week with Jota, Firmino, Salah, Diaz? So he's one to look at, but is he going to do the business? Or will he do better because there's not so much pressure on him?
You know, I want to just touch on that if I may. That reminds me of when Jota moved from Wolves to Liverpool, and there was also a big money signing. When he came into Liverpool for his first season, he wasn't starting every match. He wasn't thrown in the deep end. It took him time to settle, and that's just the type of manager Jurgen Klopp is. And I feel that if history repeats itself, which more than likely will in this case, Núñez will take some time to adapt, and I don't think Klopp would throw him straight into the starting lineup. I think he'll slowly start to blood him into the team. It's time for Jota to take the reins. He's been warming the bench for too long. And now that Mane's gone, I think he'll be starting more often than Núñez.
Fair enough. Is nobody taking a punt on the big man up front for Fulham now? You know, he got a bag full last season, didn't he?
Who's this?
Mitrovic. He's coming off. He's going to be coming off of a very, very, very good season last season in the Championship. Could he not do it? I mean, he's been in the Premier League and he does tend to not perform as well, but he broke records last season. Surely,
in the Championship, how many more opportunities does he need in the Premier League?
Yeah, it was in the Championship, but the Championship is a very hard league to get out of.
I know.
A very hard league. Do we not think that he's going to have a good chance, a good season?
Well, he's the kind of player that if he comes in this year and he does better, it's because he's probably more experienced and level-headed, more focused. And that's probably why he did have a better season last year, because he probably just became a bit more sensible, or he works better with the manager that he has there. So he could quite possibly, he might not have the same goal tally as last year because of the Championship difference, but that's not to say why he can't get goals.
It's very true, very true. I mean, my shout, he's not exactly new to the Premier League,
no,
but he's new to a team, and I'm going with Christian Eriksen. I think Christian Eriksen's going to get a lot of points this season. Like I said, he's not exactly new to the Premier League, but he's a newcomer because he's gone to Manchester United.
True.
And you know, if Man United keep playing the way they have done pre-season, and Eriksen's putting those balls through, like we all know he can do, and he's wicked. He's a wicked free kick taker as well. You know, I think he's going to get some points.
Well, then, if that's the case, then you'd have to. I'd like to see what Gabriel Jesus can do at Arsenal this year, with consistency under his belt, and under Arteta's reign. See how he get on. Will he start putting the goals away? I'll be interested to see what happens there. I'm sure a few Arsenal fans will be as well.
Yeah, one thing I like about Gabriel Jesus, just to touch on that, is he almost plays two roles at the same time. With him being a striker, he can drop the type of striker he is. He drops deep, he collects the ball, and he can assist. So there's a striker there that not only gets you goal points, but he gets you the assist points as well. And if he carries on performing and pops up with a couple of goals and assists in a game, you get the bonus points as well. And I feel he's the most likely player in the Premier League this season to get the most bonus points, just on the pure basis of the type of role he masters at Arsenal.
Yep. I want to ask, because I've seen it in the comments, and I think it's a decent question, but I want to ask it now. How difficult do you think it is to build a team that's going to generate you points whilst the window is still open? Because obviously people are going to be getting sold. You might have somebody that's got your triple figures and they've been sold, and then you've got to find the replacement that's going to get you those points back. How hard is it going to be until that window shuts to actually get a settled team that's going to get points?
Touching on what you were saying there earlier on about the 5 subs, we have got the World Cup this year. It is going to be a tough year, and I reckon a lot of us we won't all fail together, but it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of people this year, and you'll have to really bring your A game if you're going to be the best this year. So that's where that's what I think people are going to struggle.
Ross?
Yeah, just to touch on what both of you were saying. Firstly, with the transfer window being open, and I think it's open until a little bit later as well. If I'm not mistaken, it closes sometime in September, not August as usual. With that being said, a lot of the Premier League teams end up selling to each other now because that's where the money is, especially after COVID. We've seen that with Manchester City selling Raheem Sterling to Chelsea, and there's plenty other examples of just selling between Premier League clubs. So, to answer your question, I'm not too nervous about it. I don't think it's something that we need to stress about, where we have the high-scoring FPL assets moving out to the Premier League. Worst case scenario, they might just move to a team where you've already got 3 of the assets, and you can only have a max of 3 from each team. So you might need to change one out, like in the case of Chelsea having Raheem Sterling now. That's the only point that I'll keep my eye open for, just to be wary about. But if you place your faith in consistent performers from previous seasons, like the Mo Salahs, like the Trents, I don't think you can go wrong. With the World Cup coming up as well, I'm more anxious to see how the players are after the World Cup. There's a lot of intense games happening right after each other. The Premier League is always intense. The World Cup even more so, especially in December. I'm nervous to see how the second half of the season will plan out, and if there'll be any players that suffer from injuries or long-term fatigue. But I suppose that's a bridge we'll cross when we get there.
Yeah, true. One point I'd like to ask the two of you, and you might answer this for me. When you're picking your team for this year, okay, because it's going to have such variety in it for the amount of minutes that are being played per player, the amount of substitutes, the amount of World Cups, etc. Would you pick your team based on a financial gain as well? So if you're buying players that you think their value might go up, so you wouldn't be just buying Mo Salahs and Sons, you spread your wealth across your team, hoping that each player will go up in value. So when it comes to, say, a third of the season or halfway through the season, you might be able to sell a few players or use a wild card, and then you might be able to bring in 2 expensive players because the value of your team has gone up, instead of just going out straight away and buying a 4 million left back and a 4 million left back, and their value never goes anywhere. And then when you go to use your wild cards, you may not have as much money as you would have liked, where if you had to spread your wealth across your team.
Yeah. What I had, a perfect example of that actually, is last season. I remember buying Stuart Dallas from Leeds for dead cheap. He must have been, correct me, I could be wrong here, but I know he was in the 4 million range, 4 million, 4.5. And I ended up selling him halfway through my season when Leeds went through that bad patch after Bielsa left. And I ended up making about 1 million, 1.5 profit. So I was able to buy another player in form. More than likely, defenders are where you're going to see your most potential gain for profits. And the FPL League has blessed us this season by offering centre-backs for dirt cheap. Perfect examples of this would be Dan Burns. Dan Burns is a towering centre-back, and he's going for about 4 million, and he'll pop up with a couple goals surely, and that'll only increase his value. You've got, there's another defender at Brighton who was partnering with Dan Burns. His name slipped my mind now. But same thing.
It wasn't Cucurella now, was it?
No, centre-back.
Oh, centre-back. Oh, sorry. No, I'll only be guessing now, but no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, the pair of them were just scoring from set pieces for fun, and their value in the FPL market was just going up. It was skyrocketing. So defenders are most definitely the most potential gain for profits. And if you want to play FPL for profit making and hopefully sell them on to get better players, that's your chance. And there's a big niche in there.
Yeah. Rebel just said it. It is Dunk, and that's who I was.
Dunk.
I didn't want to say it in case I got it wrong, but yeah, Rebel got it there. He's right.
Yeah, I mean, to build on what Ross has said, I don't really tend to play for profit. But if I notice that a player has gone up and I see that there's another player there that's, if I trade him out, has the more potential, especially if there's a good run of games for that player. So, for instance, I don't know, let's say I've got Harry Maguire in my team. Let's just say I've got Harry Maguire in my team, and his stock starts to rise a little bit, but then he's got teams coming up like Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal.
Yeah.
I will take him out of my team. I'll drop him out of my team, and I can buy somebody because his profit's gone up. I can buy somebody who's worth more, well, worth the same, but is a better player because I've got that extra bit of money now because he's rose. So I think it's always good to look at the price of your players, whether they're rising, whether they're dropping, because it tends to show as well how well they're actually doing. If a player starts dropping in price, then I think it's time. You know, you might want to stick with him because you might not be able to afford, which is why one of my tips last week was always keep 0.5 million in your bank because you might need it. Because if you've got somebody in your team that's not performing well and their price is dropping and you're that 0.5 million short, you've got that there then to swap him out, get somebody in, and then you've got the points again, hopefully from this new player.
So
Yeah, I agree.
So when it comes to substituting players out, gentlemen, should you use your one substitute a week? Should you use 2 substitutes a week? Or should you go all crazy and buy 3 substitutes a week? Or should you never do the latter 2?
I think it's all personal preference. That's the amazing thing with a fantasy league. It's all personal preference. Like I said, I always go on fixtures. If I've got somebody in my team or a couple of people in my team that I've got really hard games and I think they're going to really struggle, and I've got 3 players on my bench that I know are going to do well, then yeah, I'll throw all 3 of them in. Why not? But if I can get away with it, I'll only do 1. And that's what I tend to do. I tend to just do 1.
Okay. Russ?
That's fair. That is fair. What I tend to do is I stick to the basics, honestly, and this will apply to the beginners that are watching this. Some of the viewers, this might be their first, second season, maybe even third season playing fantasy football. And I promise you, you won't go wrong just by picking consistent players that you know usually will get a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 every game week and are reasonably priced. That way, your bench is also filled with depth and quality. So if you need to substitute whether one of your star players or starting players are injured, maybe they have a suspension, and you need to quickly swap them out without taking a point hit or any sort of point deduction, you can do that. So what I tend to do is I don't look at players on my bench that are always going to be benching or just super cheap and they're youngsters and they probably won't get a run in. I look for players that might be cheap differentials, like your Jacob Murphy's, for example, at Newcastle. He's a player that's consistent for Newcastle. He's not a household name, but you'll know that he'll pop up with an assist or goal every now and again. And keeping him on your bench or players like him is very, very good. Just by keeping your team simple, you'll not go wrong.
No, that is very good point. Very good point. Just quickly before we move on to the last subject, I'm just going to quickly go through some of these. Rebel is saying newcomers early doors tend to be like hot potato. We've seen it so many times. Adaptation period is where they have struggles, which is very, very true. It does take time. And Ola Kunle again say depends if you pick up 2 to 3 injured players, which is always important. That's why I tend to just try and do the 1 sub because you never know. You might pick up injuries and then you've used your subs already if you use all 3. So what we're going to do now is, we've got a few people. Before we go over to the Q&A, I'm going to bring this code up one more time for the Agenda Fantasy Football League. The code is 1CZLY1. I want to go on there and see that we've got over 110 people after this show. That'd be great to see. And there, like we've said before, there is a trophy available and you'll get your name on it and we'll send it out to you. And the panelist on the show who gets the least amount of points or finishes the lowest will also be doing a forfeit. Now, we have had some questions for this last little section here, the Q&A, because we're wrapping the show up. And There are interesting questions. So I'm going to go to Rebel. He put us in quite early. So Rebel's saying here, is there value in a 4.5 goalkeeper bracket, or would you select Mendy or a £5 million asset?
Rebel's nearly asking that question for me because I have 2 cheap goalkeepers at the moment, and I know I'm going to change them before the season starts. So I need you, gentlemen, to answer that question.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I've got Martinez in my team. He's been solid, and as I was saying to, the three of us were talking about it before. You need to have a solid goalkeeper to ensure there's clean sheets and get the clean sheet bonuses. And also to point back to the point that I made earlier, just especially for beginners, pick consistent players. Pick players that you know are going to do the business. Cover yourself that way. I know that Martinez, as a goalkeeper, will give me those clean sheets, and that's all I care about. If I want to take a punt on a team that could be close to the relegation zone or may have just been promoted, and they have a cheaper goalkeeper, it could be to my detriment. It's a gamble, and we don't want to take gambles, even though things happen in the Premier League. Nothing is for certain. It's all about luck. But I like to make sure that luck is on my side by picking consistent players, and Martinez would be one of them.
No, I've got to agree. Don't try and get a cheap goalkeeper. You know, you want in somebody solid in the back. You know, one of your premium goalkeepers. Don't go out and buy 2 premium goalkeepers for your team because it's pointless. Because you're not going to be playing both of them. You want one premium one that's going to get you the points and probably play the majority of the games, and then you can get a cheaper option that's probably going to pick you up some points every now and again.
Cool.
We've got Bart here. It's a question for Colin. I'm presuming that's me. Do you think Kimmich can fit in the Frankie role for Ten Hag? I mean, he probably could. I can't see why not. Kimmich is a really good player, but I don't think he's coming to Manchester United.
Yeah.
At all.
Was FIFA career mode?
Kimmich is the Bayern Munich player.
Yeah, Kimmich is a Bayern Munich player.
Yeah, and forget about that straight away.
Yeah. Also, again, do you think that former Leeds and Manchester City midfielder and current Liverpool number 7 will be a great Man United player? No. No, I don't. I just don't. We've got Gavin Ward, Pope last year. So obviously he's in the team earlier, the AI team. He was 4.5 million, scored some decent points. Got a lot of points due to saves made. Is he going to be able to do this, though? Is he going to be able to, in this Newcastle team that's going through a change, be able to consistently perform?
Is it confirmed that he's number 1?
I think he is number 1, yeah.
We'll have to see. Honestly, I'll give it 2 or 3 game weeks. Before I came on this show, I was under the impression that between him and Dubravka, they were both fighting for number 1. And to be honest, I'm still in the loop until I see that first game and who's wearing the number 1 jersey. If he is starting for Newcastle, then he'll probably do even better than what he was at Burnley. But on the flip side, the only reason he probably got decent points was because he pulled off a lot of saves in that Burnley defense. So whether he'll make the same amount of clean sheet bonuses or save bonuses in the Newcastle defense is yet to be seen. I'm a bit hesitant on that one.
True. We've got obviously Rebel here just saying Leno, Fulham number 1 could be interesting for the save count. Pat, obviously Leno's just signed for Fulham. What do you think? Do you think he's a good shout to get some points?
I put him in my team because he's the only one I could afford.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Look, I just, it was a gamble for me. You know, he looked like the best goalkeeper I could get in there. Like last year, you had the likes of Mesler, who was fantastic for Leeds. Great saves, great points. But you just don't feel you're going to get that same action from him this year because Leeds haven't really added to their squad, only going to sold it.
We've got Go Paul. Raya and Sanchez, 4.5 million, worth a lot of save points.
Yes, especially Sanchez. Brighton are on the up. Get Sanchez. But although Leno's a good shout as well, because Leno could actually emulate Nick Pope's performances from last season. So you might get a lot of save bonus points from that. But personally, I'll just go with Sanchez because I feel like he's more consistent.
Sanchez is very consistent, but will he be able to replicate the same kind of form with Cucurella and Basuma gone? Well, with Cucurella kind of gone.
If I knew, then you could put my name on that trophy now and send it to me.
No. That trophy's only going one place, and that's my house. I've made a space for it already.
Just to let you know, lads, Mr. B's probably engraved his name in it already.
He probably has. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up the show now. We're going to wrap it up. We've been going for 55 minutes. I'm going to quickly put this back up for anybody who's joined the stream late. If you want to join the Man United Agenda Fantasy League, the code is 1CZLY1. You will get a trophy if you win the league with your name engraved on it, and it will be sent out to you. And also the panelist who gets the least amount of points will be doing a forfeit as decided by you, the viewers. So, Ross, thank you for coming on. Where can we find you, mate?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at _rose_. I'll be there. And you can find me here every Tuesday. I'll be in front of your screens.
Yes, you will. And, of course, the man, Pat Lawless. You've got a little thing here, Pat. Rebels telling you head-to-head code.
I haven't actually got it on me. My phone's in the other room. If Rebel, if you could just send that to Colin now, please. What I'd like to say about the fancy football, lads, is that the biggest problem everybody has with fancy football is you start it for the first couple of weeks and then you go, it's not going well, and then you just pack it in. No, just stick at it. You know, all you have to do is, as the lads said, have a diverse squad with a bit of consistency, spread the wealth, and just enjoy it, because that's the whole reason why we're doing it here at the end of the day, because it's just a bit of laugh. I don't think I'm going to win this, but I'm still going to play like I'm going to win it and have a laugh with everybody. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, it is. That is what it's all about. And guys, please do make sure you tune back in tonight at 10 o'clock, because the man, the myth, the legend, the giant OMONDI will be hosting his show. He's going to be having eyes on everything Manchester United, going over everything that has happened pre-season. So make sure you're there at 10 o'clock. I have been your host today in the absence of Rebel. Thank you so much, Ross, for joining. Thank you also, Pat, for being here. And until next time, guys, I shall see you later, and make sure you tune in at 10 o'clock.